we do at the beginning in the introduction. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Yaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, Bob, would you like to read that, the English?
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Okay, so let's continue from last week. So last week we started a new chapter, chapter 5. What's the title of the 5th chapter? Who knows?
Action in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, action in Krishna consciousness, Karma Yoga. So Prabhupada's here translating the meaning of Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So everyone's engaged in karma. There's no question about that. You understand that? Everyone is doing some kind of action. Even if people are physically not doing much, but they could be very active. So there's always some kind of activities going on. Of course, to maintain the body, you have to act, isn't it? The body needs to eat. So in order to eat, generally you have to do some kind of action, right? Has anyone ever experienced where the food sort of falls into your mouth out of the sky? You just open your mouth and it falls in?
Nope.
So you have to make some effort, some endeavor, some kind of endeavor or action to get food and so forth and shelter. Something is required there. Even of course to chew your food requires action, right?
Yes.
Even chewing your food is action. You know, moving your arms and legs. There's all kind of actions going on there in the body. So you can't stop those things. So everyone's doing karma, but the real thing is to add the yoga onto it, to do it in Krishna consciousness. So that's what Krishna's going to teach us now, how we can connect our actions to Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Okay, so we'll start second verse now.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Hare Krishna. Hi.
So just a quick recap on the first verse. So it starts off this chapter with Arjuna asking a question. That he's got some doubts in his mind. It seems like up to now, there's been a point where Krishna encouraged him to renounce work. Renounce means to give up working. And then in other places, it seems like Krishna's encouraging him to work in devotion. So now he's asking, so we have said two different things. So what's better? Which is better? Of course, it's not that we mentioned last week, it's not that Krishna's actually being contradictory in his explanations, but there's some misunderstanding there. And Arjuna is asking this question for our benefit. It's not really that Arjuna is an ignorant person like us and he doesn't know these things. He knows that work and devotion is better, but Krishna's put him under a kind of maya or illusion for our sake, so that all of us ignorant souls thereafterwards can get this knowledge that work and devotion is better than giving up our work. Were you going to say something, Deepa?
Oh, I was just saying it's a combination of the two that is what's required, isn't it? I mean, we do the work in devotion, and therefore we relinquish, we detach ourselves from the results of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's why it's not actually contradictory what Krishna said, because what Krishna has explained is that we should give up the results of our work. Not that we should actually give up our work, but give up the results of our work. So we should give up all work that's based on, that's what Krishna's explained, give up all work that's based on fruitive results. You know, giving up all activities that we do for our pleasure. That should be given up. And so that there's no contradiction there. We should give up all activities that we do for our own sake, our own enjoyment. And instead of that, we should do activities for the sake of the Supreme, and which is yoga. To do all of our activities for the sake of the Supreme and give up all activities that are based on our own sense gratification. So that's not a contradiction. And we've talked a lot about the subject of sacrifice. Sacrifice means to do one thing, you have to give up something else, right? That's what sacrifice means. Like Bob has sacrificed Newcastle for Dubbo. You can't be in Dubbo and Newcastle at the same time. So he has given up, or he's sacrificed Newcastle to go to Dubbo.
Moved to Dubbo.
No, just temporarily. He's on a road trip.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, road trip.
Yeah. So here the idea is we're giving up our materialistic, selfish activities for our own enjoyment, for the sake of doing activities for the pleasure of Krishna. So that's the idea here. So let's hear now the second verse. So we can go to the second verse. Recite that together. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasya Karabhubo Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yoga Vashishyate. And we'll do it once more. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasa Karabhubo Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yoga Vishishyate. So here in this verse, Krishna is responding. How do we know Krishna is speaking? Because it starts off. How does it start off?
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Yeah. So the beautiful, opulent, Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead is speaking. So Uvacha means said, or speaking. And Bhagavan means, we've talked about that before. Bhagavan means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Person who is full of all six opulences. Remember, Bhaga means opulences. So that person that possesses all strength, all beauty, all wealth, all knowledge, all renunciation, all fame, like that. All those six opulences, that is Bhagavan, the possessor of all opulences. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it's not saying Sri Krishna Uvacha, because Krishna is speaking, but it's not saying Krishna said. It's saying God said. Just so you understand that Krishna is not an ordinary person, isn't it? Because it's like, they generally they'll say, the Prime Minister said, just so, you understand it's not just Joe Blogs, but it's the person's position. So we understand here the position of Krishna, that he's a supreme person full of all opulences. And amazingly, even though it says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, there's many translations of Bhagavad Gita, other than this one, as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, that explain Krishna as an ordinary human being. Maybe a little bit more powerful than us, but still an ordinary human being. So, but how's that possible? Because even in the very text itself, it's saying that the Supreme Personality, the full of all six opulences, is speaking. And yet so many foolish commentators, they try to weasel out of, the real meaning, that is the Supreme Being speaking, and just turn him into an ordinary person. Anyway, but Prabhupada is giving it as it is, so we're very fortunate. Okay, Deepa, would you like to read the English translation?
The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
So it's not bad, Krishna's saying here, it's not bad that people give up their materialistic activities. Of course, that's very entangled. We've explained, that engaging in karma or activities, fruitive activities for our own, enjoying the fruits or the results of our work, that's very entangling. That's because of the results of our activities is why we get entangled in the cycle of birth and death and have to come back again. Why do we have this body? Because of our materialistic activities of our last life. Why are we going to get another body? Because of our materialistic activities of this life. So the result of engaging in karma or, fruitive activities, selfish activities, is that we have to come back again. So it's good to give up that. It's good to give up performing those materialistic activities, because then we get free from those results. But better than giving up materialistic activities is to do spiritual activities, to do activities in devotion for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Because like I was saying, you can't stop your activities very long. I mean, how are you going to maintain your body if you don't do any activities? So it's not very practical. I mean, definitely we want to get free from the reactions of our work, but the best way to do that is by working in devotion. Then you don't get any reactions. If you do an activity for the pleasure of the Supreme, then you don't get a reaction. But if you just stop doing activities because you're worried about getting reactions, yeah, that's a good idea. But, how are you going to maintain yourself, without doing anything? Okay, so let's see what Prabhupada has to say here. Okay, Bhakti Mala, would you like to start reading the purport?
Fruitive activities, seeking sense gratification, are cause for material bondage. As one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this as follows.
Okay, just before you start that, and you don't have to read all that Sanskrit unless you want to.
Do you read all the Sanskrit as well, Bhakti Mala?
I just went, oh wow, it goes on to
If you can read all that Sanskrit, you passed the test. You're the top of the class. But before we start that, so see, this Prabhupada used these two words, bodily comfort. So that's something I'd like to talk about. See, for someone that's very materialistic, that's absorbed in the body, that's the aim of their life. What do you think? Does that sort of seem like what modern day society is going for, that the bodily comforts?
Yes,
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's like the main aim, I would say, of most people in modern day society is bodily comforts. We want to be comfortable and have a nice house and a nice environment to live in, and nice food to eat, and some sex life, good for our genitals. So pleasing the senses, so comfortable situation, ideally not too hot, not too cold, all this kind of thing. And that's why we try to, any time where it's not comfortable, we try to counteract it, isn't it? And that's what most people spend their whole life doing. If it gets too hot, you try to counteract it by some cooling device, or go to a place on holiday or whatever, it's a bit cooler, or if it's cold, you go to somewhere where it's warmer, or try to heat up your place where you are. You're always trying to counteract any uncomfortable situations. So materialistic people, they're always trying to escape uncomfortable situations, trying to make it more comfortable, and more and more. And if you do that, if you can achieve some more comforts for the body, you think you're successful, isn't it? That's sort of like, you feel really happy in materialistic consciousness if you've managed to make your body a bit more comfortable. And you've got a nice comfortable car, and you've created a nice road to drive on, and you have nice holidays and so many things like that, and very loving family members, and everything's very nice like that. And then such a person feels, I'm successful in life. Let's just read a little bit explains about the consciousness of a materialistic person in the 16th chapter.
In the 16th.
Yeah, in the 16th chapter. So we'll just go, and I'll just pin down the verse. Let's have a look. So this is called the divine and demoniac natures. Okay. So the 13 and 15. So 16th chapter, text 13 and 15. So this gives you an idea about a person who's absorbed in just bodily comfort.
It doesn't have a purport.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, because it's not too profound, not too deep. The materialistic person, it is not much you have to say about that because it's self-explanatory. You will just read it and you'll see why it's not really necessary to have a purport. It's just pretty clear. Okay, Gulshan, do you want to read that one?
Yeah. The demonic person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my scheme. So much in mine now, and it will be increased in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemy will also be. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am the perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy and I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall be rejoiced. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance.
Anyone like to say anything about that? Is it pretty clear? I mean now in modern day life there aren't. What's that?
People don't say it, but that's what they feel it. Nobody comes and say in front of you that, oh, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the Lord of everything. They don't say it in the front of your face, but they do think it, do they?
Yeah, well, everyone's trying to be the enjoyer. No, we're not going around saying, most of us, that we're God, but we are trying to be the enjoyer in every situation. And we might not go around killing our enemies, although there are people that do that. But still, we do try to remove obstacles. If there are people that are interfering with our enjoyment, try to avoid them. We might criticize them, isn't it? At least, I mean, in one sense, that's a kind of verbal killing. We might attack people verbally and calling people bad names and, criticizing people behind their back and, pushing people down like that verbally, or in our mind. We might not physically kill them, but in our mind, oh, I hate that guy. He's just such a pain in the neck, like that, isn't it? So that's going on the mental platform. We might not physically kill them. But mentally, we might wish they were gone. We might wish they were dead or out of our way, or they're a thorn in my side. I wish they weren't around me and stuff like that. So, it's all pretty clear. But that sort of materialistic consciousness, we're just trying to enjoy as much as we can in the material world. And how we enjoy in the material world is by surrounding ourselves, as mentioned here, with many relatives and friends that cooperate with me. You know, whoever cooperates with me, generally we call them our friends. Those are our friends, those that cooperate with my sense gratification, with my enjoyment. And those that interfere with my enjoyment, they're my enemies, like that. So is that pretty fair, do you think?
Yeah.
Summing up, materialistic life?
Yes.
And then we have like obligations, like those that don't cooperate with our sense enjoyment, but we still, like family.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually said that sometimes, due to karma, that your enemy from your past life takes birth in your family.
Oh no, seriously?
Yeah, that can happen, and that's due to karma, past karma. There was an antagonistic enemy kind of relationship in the past life, and to continue that karma, that enemy takes birth in your family, and then it can be, very. Oh, my wife's laughing from the next room, so. So, and that could be husband and wife, it could be parents and kids, it could be nephews or cousins, or so many things. And, some, really vicious activities could be going on in the family. And that could be carrying on from previous lives where they weren't family members, but there was just some, really bad relationship there. And that's continuing on. So it could be also, friends from the past life, take birth in the family too. So it's not just enemies that take birth in the family, but it could all different kind of scenarios there. And sometimes, we have to tolerate a lot because, a family member is not acting properly or whatever and disturbing, but we just have to tolerate that because they're the family,
Depends, it's enough is enough.
Yeah, and sometimes like with Prabhupada, he was spending years handwriting an edition of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And then he came back one day to continue writing it. He hadn't finished it. It was the only copy. He spent years. And his wife had sold, where's my Bhagavad Gita, my dear wife? Oh, I just sold it.
For cup of tea.
To buy biscuits, to dunk in a tea. I mean, how would that make you feel? And then after that, what did Prabhupada say? He said, tea or me. Make your choice. You got to sacrifice one. Either sacrifice your tea or sacrifice me. So she said, I'll take the tea. So that was a big insult. That was a big insult. He'd worked so many years to serve the wife and kids, and then at the end of all that, he hears from his wife that she'd rather have tea than him. So he decided at that point, okay, I'm off. So then he left that situation. So sometimes it can be unpleasant, relationships even within the family, what to speak of outside. Of course, Prabhupada wasn't removing himself from that situation just because it didn't suit his sense gratification, but for the service of the Lord, because it was interfering with the service of the Lord. And that was his prime duty, his spiritual duty, was to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. His spiritual master had ordered them that from a young age. So he wasn't just doing it to get a more comfortable situation because, she was making it very uncomfortable for him. That wasn't the case with Prabhupada. He didn't care about his own comforts. He was just interested in serving the Lord. He was always engaged in this karma yoga process. But generally, you know, we can sum up the mentality of a materialistic person as one that makes bodily comforts the goal of their life. That's all that they know. They don't even, they hardly think about the mind, or and definitely not the soul. So then they're not thinking about creating a spiritually happy situation or spiritually comfortable situation. They're only thinking about the body. You know, let my body be happy now. The soul can go to hell. That doesn't matter. But as long as my body enjoys, that's all they think about. You know.
Generally, it happens that excess of money.
What's that? What about money?
Generally, it happens when you have excess of money.
Excess of money.
Yeah, then you were looking something more comforts.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's very hard to have bodily comforts if you don't have much money.
Yes.
Very hard, you know. So therefore the people have a goal for money. Is usually money orientated, isn't it? Money is, like they say, money is sweeter than honey. You know, it's not that you can really enjoy the money as such, because it's just paper or a card or whatever, but it's what you can get from that money. That from that, if you have more money, then you can get sex life, then you can get nice food, then you can get, you know, nice house, nice clothes, all things for the body. So
money and the food more than you require is a problem.
what's that?
Money and the food more than you require is a problem.
Yeah. And also that the prestige that comes with having all the money, that makes you feel very good. That people will respect me. I'll get a lot of prestige if I'm very rich, if I'm a millionaire, if I have a fancy house and a big car and everything like that, that people are going to like me, people are going to respect me. So there's a lot of that kind of enjoyment on the mental platform. It's not just physical sense gratification. Actually, physical sense gratification is very small. You know, like if you're eating a meal, how long does that last for?
Not long.
Not very long, 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. But what about thinking about food? How long does that last for?
Oh, hours.
All day.
All day. Just thinking about it. So, or maybe like, say you go on a holiday for a week somewhere, to Dubbo or somewhere. You know, that might last for a week. But you could be thinking about your trips coming up for 6 months ahead, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, you could go, I'm going to go to India next year. So, I mean, your trip to India might last 3 weeks, but you can be thinking for a whole year about, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go to that shopping there, and then I'm going to go for a swim there, and I'm going to go to that temple, and I'm going to do yoga, and you know, you could just be enjoying it on that subtle mental plane. So there's all different kinds of sense gratification, not just physical, but mental also. But and what is a transcendentalist after? We're also after sense gratification, you could say, but on the spiritual platform. So why would we give up sense gratification on the bodily platform, on the mental platform, for getting it on the spiritual platform?
So we like, you know, it's like a glass full. We have to get emptied in order to get something else.
True. But still, why would we give up bodily sense gratification?
Because there's no end.
Yes, because the spiritual sense gratification has no end. It's unlimited. It's unlimited. Let's look at the last verse of the 14th chapter.
14th chapter, last verse.
So Brahman, this is a verse about Brahman. So Brahman is the spiritual atmosphere. That's called Brahman. Actually, the soul is also Brahman. Our nature is we're spiritual beings. We're spiritual beings, and our nature is that we live in a spiritual atmosphere. So this is talking about that spiritual energy and spiritual atmosphere. So who's
that? Sorry.
the 14th chapter, the last verse, text 27. 27. 14th chapter, text 27.
Yep, got it. Yep.
Okay, do you want to read that, Bob?
Yep. Is it and I am
Yeah.
and I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
There you go, ultimate happiness. So we give up this temporary bodily happiness. Oh, what's this? Happiness for half an hour. Happiness for one day. Happiness for 6 months. Happiness for 1 year. Even happiness for a whole lifetime. But that's peanuts. Why settle for that? Why not have the ultimate happiness? That's what I want. I want ultimate happiness. I don't want to be happy for 6 hours or 6 months and then be miserable after that and suffer after that. I want permanent happiness. Permanent happiness, unlimited. And that's our choice, you know. So it's not that we're against comfort. No, it's the nature of the soul. Comfortable to be happy, but we can't be happy in this material world because it's temporary, and the nature of the material world is not comfortable. It's full of so many miseries, so it's foolish. The scriptures explain to us, and even logically we can understand that you can't find real permanent happiness in the material world. It's a temporary place, and it's full of miseries. I mean, just look at all around the world now. The whole world is focused on counteracting the latest misery, which is
Corona.
Have we been successful?
Only if the person will do Radhe Radhe Corona, then.
So no, we just try to counteract the problem. We end up creating more problems. See, we try to counteract coronavirus, and what other problems did we create?
Loneliness. Do you think?
Lonely. Actually, the suicide rate in Australia, New Zealand, all these places increased. You know, so many. What do you call it? You know, multiplication so much. Increased so much. Actually, more people have died of suicide than died of coronavirus. You know so loneliness, and then family disputes because everyone's stuck at home together, so they end up fighting and killing each other. And then a big problem we've created through solving this one problem of coronavirus. We've created a big problem of unemployment. Unemployment in New Zealand has gone up. Unemployment. Johnny was just telling me she was talking with her friends in India, and many of them have become unemployed due to this thing happening. And now they're sitting at home and there's no job either, you know, and then difficulty to get paid for all the bills and everything, and people lose their house and so many problems. So you try to counteract one problem, you actually create many more problems. So this is a very frustrating situation. So any intelligent person should think, is there some alternative to this? A life where we're put into some uncomfortable situation and we try to counteract it and try to create some comfort, but we end up creating more uncomfortable situations. So we should think, you know, is there some alternative thing to do with my life than just that? And there is, and that's to seek for the spiritual happiness. That's where our maximum energy should go into. So instead of just them spending all their energy looking for, vaccines, isn't it? Millions and millions to look the virus and everything, if they'd put all that millions and millions of dollars in all these big brain scientists and everything to search for what's the absolute truth, you know, and what's the ultimate happiness, to search for the ultimate happiness, then they would have got a lot more benefit out of that than just trying to counteract, you know, one misery and creating more.
So the
Weight
90% people, they
weight gain's an issue here.
What's that?
Weight gain is an issue here.
Yeah, and because people are less active now, they've lost a lot of their freedom, then they end up putting on weight, and then, yeah, so many things. It's like, it's never ending. It's like a spider's web. The material is like a spider's web. The more you move, the more the fly moves in the spider's web, the more he gets stuck. Or the fish in the net. The more the fish struggles in the net, the more he gets tangled up in the net. So what's the remedy? Knowing that the material world is like a spider's web, and the more you try to break out of it, the more you get stuck in, or like a net, what should you do?
take a shelter under the Krishna. That's it. Done.
Take shelter under Krishna and minimize your material bodily activities as much as possible. Minimize your interaction with the material world as much as possible. So it means minimize your eating, minimize your sleeping, minimize the amount of money you require, minimize the house, you know, as much as possible. Try to simplify the life. Simplify your life as much as possible so that you're not going to get so much entangled in this process of trying to counteract problems and getting more and more entangled in life. And put that spare energy that you have, because you're living more simply, put that spare energy you have into achieving the spiritual platform, spiritual realization, spiritual understanding. Put your energy into that as much as possible, and keep all your bodily activities as simplified. I mean, you can't stop completely, but just try to keep it just real simple as much as possible. And this is said in the 4th chapter, which we've just passed through, 4th chapter, text 21. 4th chapter, text 21.
Such a man, understanding, act with the mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, give up all the sense of proprietorship of his possession, and act only for bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is
So that's Shariram, Kevalam Karma. So acting only for the bare necessities of life. So we should keep our actions just real basic. Just act. Keep your body and soul together. That's what it means, the bare necessities of life. So just to keep, and Prabhupada mentions that in the word for word of that verse, Shariram, in keeping body and soul together, and then Kevalam, only. So only just enough just to keep your body and soul together. Not for an excessively comfortable life, but just to stay alive. You know, and then maximum energy put into getting out of this material world, achieving liberation, freedom from all material suffering. And that's only achievable in this human form of life. The human form is the only one that we can get a permanent solution to all of our problems. So, you know, temporarily we have to undergo some difficulties because we're in a material body. You can't escape that. Sometimes things don't work out the way you want. You know, your food situation might not be ideal. You might not have the ideal companions, or you don't have a companion, or they're not ideal companion, or it might be, you know, some coronavirus around you, or so many difficulties. But the recommendation is just to tolerate that. That's the nature of the material world. You have to expect that. Don't expect it's going to always be perfect and comfortable and everything. That's not the way the material world is. The material world is set up to make you uncomfortable. You have to understand that. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells us what you should do is just tolerate it. tolerate the uncomfortable situation. Don't try to just counteract it all the time and make yourself more comfortable. Just tolerate it. Because like I said, the more you try to counteract the discomfort, it's going to create another discomfort and another one. So rather than try to always counteract these problems and uncomfortable situations, is just tolerate them. And that they'll come and go. And that's mentioned in the second chapter, text number 14. So this is a very famous verse, important verse. It comes after the even more famous verse where Krishna says, as the embodied soul transmigrates in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, it similarly goes into another body at death. So then that's in text 13. And text 14, Deepa, you want to read that, text 14? Second chapter, 14.
Oh, she's on mute.
Oh, I was on mute. Oh, you're on mute, Deepa. You're on mute. Or whoever's ready.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Deepa.
O
Yeah.
son of Kunti.
You can carry on, Gulchan, if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of the happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and a disappearance of a winter and a summer season. They arises from sense perception, O Sinicon or Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, because I'm sick, and then doctor asked me to take this is medicine. Yes, but that medicine will side effect on my liver and kidney.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm trying to get it out for this. If I tolerate, I try to, but if I can't, then I'll probably take one. But don't just take a minor headache. Okay, put the Panadol. Too much Panadol and Nurofen, they affecting your kidney and liver. Side effect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, we have to keep the body and soul together. So, I mean, you try to keep the body alive the best you can. You don't care about it. No, it's the body belongs to Krishna. It's a machine, so you have to look after it. So we try our best just to keep it alive like that. But just in the most simple ways we can. Like in your case, maybe drink lots of water, flush out whatever the toxins are, flush it out, drink lots of water and take extra rest. Prabhupada often said if someone's sick, take extra rest and some fasting. Often fasting can help to get rid of a disease, is a recommendation for a lot of diseases, is fasting, and also taking plenty of rest. And then he's got the water there just to show us, drinking lots of water. So rest and water, that's a good simple natural way of dealing with these difficulties. But these difficulties are due, as it's saying here, due to the sense perception. That means because we have a body. The suffering is being experienced by the body. Oh, and Josh has also got some nice good water there.
Is it alkaline water, Josh?
He's got some nice water there.
Dr. Abhay, thank you.
All these difficulties are just due to the body. Because the soul is within this body, we have so many difficulties. So the recommendation is just to tolerate them. And they're not actually affecting the soul. The heat, the cold, the happiness and distress and so forth, it doesn't affect the soul. It's just affecting on the body. But we remember the previous verse is telling us you're not the body. Therefore, we have to become sober, as recommended here. We have to become very sober, very learned, and get out of this intoxication of illusion where we're in ignorance and we're thinking we're the body. So we have to become sober with knowledge and realize we're not the body, that we're the spirit soul. And all these miseries are due to the body, us being in the body. They're affecting the body, so we should just tolerate them. And they're temporary. The idea is We can tolerate them because we know that they're all temporary. And the example given is like the summer and winter seasons. You can tolerate the summer. How? How can you tolerate the summer?
Just getting under the shed.
No, well, I mean, because you know it's only going to last for a short time, only for a few months. It's not going to last forever. I mean, if summer lasted forever, like 45 degrees, that would be pretty hard to tolerate, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Or if winter lasted forever, you know, -5 degrees, that'd be pretty hard to tolerate. But you can tolerate more easily knowing that it's temporary. And just the body itself is temporary. Okay, I have to go through, you know, coronavirus. I have to go through old age. I have to go through disease. I have to go through backache and headache and so many things. But it's not the end of the world because it's temporary. And then after this, I can go to the spiritual world, which is permanent, which is eternal. So knowing that, it makes it a lot easier to tolerate all these different problems of the material world. But the real thing is to keep our focus on our real spiritual life. That's our real life, not this. This is not our real life. You know, in the material world, in this material body full of suffering and try to counteract problems. This is not our real life. This is just like a dream. So we have to keep our consciousness, our focus on our real life, on spiritual life. And that's what it's recommending in the 5th chapter, Krishna consciousness. In the material world, we should keep our consciousness fixed on Krishna. You know, doing whatever we can to serve Krishna. And slowly forgetting this body. The more you keep your mind fixed on Krishna, and how do we do that?
Chanting, singing.
What's that?
Chanting, singing.
Yeah, chanting and singing, and like what we're doing now, hearing about Krishna, talking about Krishna, and thinking about Krishna, remembering Krishna, worshipping Krishna. You know, we offer food to Krishna, we dress Krishna, cook for Krishna, you know, clean the temple for Krishna, clean the farm for Krishna, look after Krishna's cows, look after Krishna's devotees. You know, just Krishna, everything. Just Krishnaize everything. Talk to people about Krishna, help other people come to Krishna. Just by putting Krishna in the center, then slowly, you think more and more about Krishna and less about
Material.
You.
less and less about you, about us. And then that automatically you become happier. Because why we become so miserable is because the focus is on ourselves. What's wrong with focusing on yourself?
You can focus only one thing, whether Krishna or yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So, but focusing on yourself, what's wrong with that?
Because there's a never end.
Well, first of all, yourself means the body, which is what most people think it is. If you're focusing on the body, what's wrong with focusing on your body?
It's temporary.
It's temporary and?
It's
It's
never
in
satisfied.
order to complete the demand of that body, you maybe work hard and things like, and then you wouldn't be do any spiritual because all you think about your body. What more can I do?
But what's the nature of the body? Is it full of ecstasy and bliss?
Nah.
No.
It's look at what it is. It's a bag of
Not much at all.
as the scriptures say, mucus, bile, and
Rubbish.
stool. So if you focus on that,
Even
You know,
if you're
covered-
you're cutting your
covered
hair,
by this nice skin, covered by this, Krishna has put this nice packaging. But if you just took the wrapper off the packaging, I don't recommend that. But if you took the wrapper off the packaging, you realize it's not very nice. You know, so why are we focusing on that? It's causing us so many problems. And that's where all the backache and the headache is, and the eyesight problem, and the tooth problem, and the hearing problem, and the hair loss problem, and the, you know, all this skin problem, and kidney, liver problem, heart problem, urinary tract problem, you know, foot problem. Everything is all coming from there. So why focus on why focus on a miserable thing?
No
You know,
problem.
so the scriptures recommend take your focus off the body. You know, just minimize thinking about the body and maximize thinking about Krishna. Because what's Krishna's nature?
Eternal.
Yeah, eternal and full of consciousness and knowledge and bliss. You know, so if you focus on that, what's going to happen to you?
Same thing gonna come to us.
Yeah,
Eternal.
if you think about, if you're thinking about an object which is full of bliss, then how are you going to feel?
Blissful.
Bliss.
You're going to feel bliss. If you think about an object that's full of suffering, how are you going to feel?
Miserable.
You're going to feel miserable. So then what's the solution? Don't think about miserable things. It means material bodies. Think about blissful things, spiritual existence, spiritual personalities, and you'll always be happy. You'll always be happy. So we just have to change our consciousness. Change our consciousness. Just to think. There's what was one saying. What was that saying? It's not that think less of yourself, but think of yourself less. Do you get it?
I like it. Yeah.
Don't think less of yourself. It means like low self-esteem. You know, I'm useless, I'm terrible, I'm no hoper, I'm lazy. You know, don't think less of yourself. It means like low self-esteem, but think of yourself less. So that's what we try to do in Krishna consciousness. Less of the I, and more Krishna, 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 Krishna. And just see the change. See the change. And one of the changes you'll see is the I improves. You start to feel better. The more the more you think about Krishna and less about yourself, then yourself feels better. Try it. I mean, you're already trying it, but we should have to keep trying it more and more. So the more you transfer your consciousness away from your body to Krishna, then naturally, just without even any endeavor, you know, that you start to become more happier. You automatically become more happier, you know, without you trying to be. It's amazing the way the material world works. As long as you try to be happy in the material world, you can never be happy. But as soon as you stop trying to be happy, you become happy. And so you get exactly the opposite of what you want. That's actually, it's explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, not in the Bhagavad Gita, but in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains that the material world is set up to give you the opposite of what you want. It's very frustrating like that, isn't it? Everyone wants happiness and comfort, and they get the opposite, misery and discomfort. And those that don't look for comfort and happiness, then they get it. That's why Durga was given the instruction to do that, to frustrate us like anything in the material world, which is good because that pushes us towards Krishna consciousness when we become materially so frustrated. Yeah. So yeah, we just think more and more about Krishna and always acting for Krishna, and then automatically all of our desires and needs, everything get fulfilled slowly. Okay, so we can go back to the verse for today. So we just wanted to talk more about that bodily comfort because that's like the main agenda of materialistic society. That's what it's all about. It's all about, if you wanted to sum up this modern materialistic society, that's what's the goal, what's the aim, that's what it is. It's bodily comfort. But that's mega foolishness to do that. You know, you're trying to make this temporary bag of mucus, bile, and stool that's heading headlong towards old age, disease, and death. You're trying to make that happy. Good luck. You know, so, and amongst, you know, so many miserable conditions that are unavoidable, you know, trying to make it comfortable and happy, that's really foolish. So, but that's what modern materialistic society is trying to do. So that's not recommended here. Not recommended here. And also not only it's going to make this life very uncomfortable, by doing that, but we're creating further lives in the material world. Because material nature is going to see when this body dies, and these higher controllers like Yamaraj and Durga and that are going to look at your life and see what your desires are. Oh, you desire lots of money. You desire a beautiful wife or a husband. You want a more taller body. You want a more skinnier body. You had a black body and you want a white body. So they're going to see all your desires. And what do you think they're going to do?
Give you what you want.
Give you what you want. But what you want is not really what you want. Because what you want is going to lead you to future sufferings. So we don't even know what we want. We think, if I get a more beautiful body or, a better partner or more money, I'm going to be happy. But that's delusion, Do you think rich people suffer any less than poor people?
More. They suffer more.
Yeah. Everyone's suffering in the material world. Just desiring a different situation is not going to, in the material world, it's not going to help you at all. Do people only suffer in third world countries?
No.
No. America is suffering like anything, or Australia or New Zealand, like first world countries, so much suffering. Actually, New Zealand, surprisingly, you might think, has one of the highest suicide rates in the world amongst young people. So ridiculous. Such a beautiful country, but it has one of the highest suicide rates in the world amongst young people. They're so unhappy, the young people here. I don't know why. I mean, it's because they're so materialistic. See, like me, I was brought up so atheistic, so materialistic, and you end up becoming so frustrated, and it can bring you to the point of becoming completely crazy and depressed. I mean, I was, you wouldn't believe it now, but looking at me now, but I was so depressed.
I reckon
I was before I came to spiritual realization. I was so depressed. I don't know. I felt so empty. I felt so empty, so void inside. Like there's no point of my living and everything like that. And luckily, Krishna's devotees saved me. But I can understand how young people, because I was like, I know up till the age of 20, I was so frustrated and just so, morose. And so many people like that, nice country and rich parents, everything, but it doesn't stop you from suffering. That's the nature of the material world. So, if we have these desires in our mind when we die, then it's going to bring us into another body in our next life, which is such a disaster. Yeah, so we have to get out of this consciousness of bodily comfort. Forget about it. Just try to keep the body and soul together and focus on that eternal bliss. We don't want just some 1 year, 1 month happiness for the body. We want the eternal bliss. So focus on whatever you need to do to get that. And would anyone like to say anything about that?
If they recommend the Bhagavad Gita in every school mandatory, then suicide rate will drop.
For sure. Guaranteed.
If they do compulsory in the schools.
Yep. Guaranteed. Okay.
If Bob can read these 12 lines correctly, then whole world, that lockdown will ease. Come on, Bob.
Hey, Josh is there. Have you got the Bhagavad Gita with you, Josh?
Hang on.
You want to practice some Sanskrit?
Yeah, good idea.
Hang on. Wait.
5.2.
Hang on. I thought I had to turn the microphone on. No, I don't have it with me on about.
Okay, no, that's all right. No worries.
I can look it up.
I am, and you can look it up. But this is some 3 beautiful verses from the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. And these are actually spoken by Rishabh Dev. Doesn't say it here. but these are spoken by King Rishabdev. He was a great king, like many hundreds of thousands of years ago, and he was speaking to his 100 sons. This was at a time where they had more children. Did you hear what I said? 100 sons.
Yeah,
He's definitely busy in the material world.
He's very busy, but and they also lived a longer life. That's why they had an opportunity to produce 100 sons. They lived a long time.
I was thinking in 70 years, how the hell possible in the 100 sons?
Yeah, that's right. So he was living for many thousands of years, and also he wasn't just enjoying his senses.
More than one wife?
That's a good question. As far as I'm aware of, it was just one wife.
Oh my God!
So a different capacity.
Yep, chapter 5, verse.
Oh, and Jayanti just mentioned that Rishabdev's wife's name was Jayanti.
Oh, there you go.
Come on, Jayanti.
You can remember his wife's name by remembering Jayanti.
Jayanti
So,
hasn't started yet.
but he wasn't just mucking around enjoying his senses. He was doing a service. So he was so spiritually focused that all of his children were like divine. All of his kids were like number one. You know, it's perfect. One of the 100 became emperor of the whole planet, and the whole planet was named after him, Bharatvarsha. The name of this earth planet before was called Bharatavash, so that's named after one of Rishabdev's sons, Bharata. That was the oldest son. He's the one that later on he went to the forest and he became attached to a deer. Some of you might have heard that story.
Yeah.
He became attached to a deer and died. He fell in a hole and died thinking about the deer. And his next life, he became a deer. So that goes back to what we're saying. Whatever you're thinking about when you die, that's what you get in your next life. So you have to be careful.
The deer was pregnant, and then while giving a birth, and then mother deer died. So he looked after the baby deer. So close, so attached to that, and then next life.
Yeah, became attached. Yeah. So the father was Rishabdev, and Rishabdev's not an ordinary person. He was actually an incarnation of the Supreme Person. So he's not an ordinary kind of person. Anyway, he spoke those 3 verses. Have you got the book now?
What verse number?
5-2.
This is 5th chapter, text 2. And right in the middle of the purport, or in the start of the purport, is 3 verses.
Oh, yes.
Nunam.
Right.
I'll tell you one tune if you want, 1 meter. Nunam pramata kurute vikama da 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 da.
Nam pramate kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti nasadhu manye yata amano yamasan api kleshada asadeha. Yeah.
Good.
Bhavastarad abhoda jato yavana jinyasasta atmatvatvam yavat kriyastavad idam mano vai karmatmakam yena sarira bandaha evam manaha karmavasam prayunte avidyayatmani upadhiyamane pritir na yavan mayi vasudeva na munchate deha yogena tava.
Wow, there you go. That's great. Thank you.
All these verses, why it's written in Sanskrit? I'm just curious.
See, Prabhupada wants to show that what he's talking about is authorized. It's not just Prabhupada's thoughts or his personal view, that it's coming from an authorized source. So that this is in what do you call it? In academic circles, you always got to back up your statement with your authority. Even like if a lawyer speaks, right? If a lawyer speaks, he'll say, "Oh, and it comes from such and such book, whatever." law book. Or if a doctor speaks, he'll say, oh, it comes from the medical journal, you know, text number, blah, blah, blah. You know, so any person that wants to speak very credibly will always back up their statements with the authority where it's coming from.
Citation.
Yeah, citation. This is a very scholarly way of presenting a topic. You've got to give citations of where you're getting it from. Otherwise, it's just your personal thing. You know, 100 people have 100 different ideas, but there's only one truth. You know, so you always got to bring it back to that ultimate standard. Absolutely. Bring it back to the scriptures. Okay, so let's read the English. Find out what all that means. Who wants to read it? People are mad.
People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of misery, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results, for sense gratification, and as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence.
So that sums up everything right there in those 3 verses. Yeah. So it's this absorption and sense gratification is locking us into repeated births and deaths in the material world to future suffering. So, and our consciousness being so engrossed in these material thoughts causes us to get another body. So therefore it's saying we should give up this always thinking about sense gratification to developing a love for the Lord and a relationship with the Lord. And then we can get out of the material existence, which is the perfection of life. So that's the real goal of life, not some temporary enjoyment, bodily comfort, but the real goal of life is to get free from the material world. That's the real goal of life, of human life. The purpose of human life is to get free from material existence. See, now the false goal of life is to enjoy this body. That's the false goal of life. But the real goal of life is to get out of the body, to get free from the body. That's the real goal of life. So don't be cheated by this false goal of life that you just enjoy now, enjoy the body, isn't it? They're so focused on enjoyment right now that they even don't care about tomorrow's suffering. Like, I'll give you one example. You read on the pack of cigarettes, right, that smoking causes cancer. You see the picture of the person with their eyes falling out and their lungs ruined and everything. But they just can't comprehend even any future happiness. You just have to be happy right now.
And pay-per-view, does it mean that if we die and we have any material desires, that we just have to keep going back, that lifetime after lifetime, so we can't ever go back home to Godhead unless we got free of all our desires?
we should definitely aim to be free from all material desires. But even if we're not free from all material desires, then the most important factor in the equation is the Krishna factor. And if Krishna looks at our life and sees that we've tried our best to serve him, even though in difficult situation due to our past karma, so many difficulties we have, where we're, spiritually been very bankrupt before, and bad association, and so many obstacles are there. But even even considering all kind of obstacles are there, that we've tried our very best to serve Krishna and to give up sense gratification, although we haven't been able to do it perfectly. But he may be pleased, and he can just give us a ticket home, a ticket out of here. So that's a hard one to answer yes or no, whether we'll be able to get out of here and not come back at the end of this life. That depends completely on Krishna's mercy. So that's a very important factor, which we've talked about before, the mercy factor.
Question.
What's that?
It's a really important question, because a crude view of that issue is what drives people to impersonalism and atheism.
Yeah.
If you think, well, if you think that the spiritual answer to that question is that, well, no, you're born a sinner and you can't ever escape, and if you have any desire at all, then you're back into hell, back into reincarnation,
Yep.
That kind of, absolute, virtually can't win scenario is what drives people away.
Yeah. So it's not actually like that, because like I said, that Krishna's mercy is the main factor. It's not that, you have to be 100% perfect necessarily. I mean, of course, that should be our goal. We should try to become pure. The other side of the spectrum is that you don't care. I'm just going to keep doing more whatever nonsense I like that, and I just believe in Jesus, and then I can do any damn thing, even though I'm the worst of all sinners or whatever like that. Both sides of the extreme, that you have to become 100% perfect, otherwise you're not going to get out of here, or that don't even make any effort to change your bad habits and just keep calling out to Jesus or whatever. So both extremes are not recommended, but we should aim for becoming pure. But even if we're not, Krishna's a person. He's not a machine or a robot or a nasty person or anything like that. He's a very compassionate, very forgiving, very, very loving person. So if he desires, and he makes the rules and breaks the rules, he can do whatever he likes. So if he says,
on our side, it's sincerity and earnestness,
Yeah, so he's saying that. Yeah. So that there's one actually name of the Lord saying, not just a phrase for the Lord saying, Bhava Grahi Janardhan. Bhava Grahi Janardhan. That means that's one of the Lord's names is Janardhan. It means the maintainer of all the jana, the people. And that he sees our bhava means our feeling, that we're sincerely trying our best, our bhav, with our heart. We're putting our heart into trying to serve and try to please. And he sees that bhav, that nature that we have, that we're putting our heart into it, and he can just take us out of here. Even considering we may, still have some, black spots on our heart, but he can just take us out of there and just clean it all out. So that's
sometimes I think that, the word conscience, the idea, not consciousness, but just that your own inner conscience.
Conscience, yes.
That's such a wonderful, metaphor for Krishna and for God, because, usually when we do something bad, we deep down we know that we wish we hadn't done that. That real self-honesty.
Yes.
If at time of death, if we are thinking of Krishna or chanting his name, then and we're trying, we have been trying, and at point of death we are thinking of Krishna, that might be, would that help in getting a
Definitely.
ticket?
Well, that says that's not just going to help, that's guaranteed. I mean, if you're chanting, you're hearing the chanting when the body dies, you're guaranteed go back to Godhead. And that's in the 8th chapter, text number, I think, 15. 8th chapter, text, is it 15 or 16?
Page 359.
No, that's not the one. No, sorry, 6, 8 chapter, yeah, 5. Nearly there, yeah. 8 chapter, text 5.
And whoever at the end.
And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So if you remember Krishna when you're dying, like you're chanting or hearing it, guaranteed you get liberated. The next verse says, whatever you remember when you quit your body, that state you'll get without fail.
Oh my
So
God.
like you say, if you remember a deer when you die, if you remember a deer, you become a deer. If you remember a woman when you die, you become a woman. If you remember a man when you die, you become a man. You know, if you remember the Muslims when you die, you know, the Hindu becomes a Muslim. If the Muslim remembers a Hindu when he dies, he becomes a Hindu. So you get exactly what you're thinking about. So that's a factor there. And then that brings about one beautiful story where one of the great spiritual masters named Ramanujacharya. So he's a great teacher from South India in the past called Ramanuja Acharya. So he was devoted to one deity called Ranganath in South India, beautiful temple there of Krishna, of Vishnu. So he was a worshipper of Vishnu. And one time, and that's how much of a devotee he was, that he had a personal relationship with the deity. So he was talking with the deity, and he said to the deity, if your devotee does not remember when he dies to your devotee, you know, because like say you're driving in a car and you have an accident, and you're not thinking about Krishna. It was just like just a thing you weren't prepared for. You were driving a car and you died and you weren't thinking of Krishna, or say you in your sleep you had a heart attack. I mean, and you can't remember Krishna if you're in your sleep and you had a heart attack or have a stroke or whatever like that. So he said, you know, what happens to your devotee if he doesn't remember you when he dies? And then the Lord was silent for a moment. And then the Lord responded to him. So this is the deity talking back to his devotee. He says, if my devotee does not remember me at the end of his life, then I will remember my devotee.
Oh, so sweet.
What more could you want than that? And that's the bhakti factor. That's love. You can never overlook the loving relationship between the Lord and his devotee. And that's what bhakti, that's the best part about bhakti. That even if you're not perfect, but you've just sincerely tried to serve in whatever your capacity, the Lord remembers that. He remembers everything you've done, every good thing you've done. It said the Lord, he minimizes all the bad things and maximizes the good things. And we should also do like that as followers of the Lord. You know, try to overlook people's bad points. There's someone like Prabhupada, he was always like that. He would overlook bad points and he would always maximize good points in someone and try to increase the good points and overlook the bad points. So the ultimate of the person that does that is in the Lord, in Krishna. He's always, oh, this soul, he chanted my name once. Oh, let me bless him. he overlooks that, you know, you killed so many animals and did this and that and used to be a drunkard or whatever like that, you know, but that you did something good. What do you think? Bhakti Mala? So we have hope.
Yeah.
We have hope not in our own good qualities, but we have hope in that Krishna and the devotees are so kind, so kind. Even Krishna's devotees are so kind. One disciple of Prabhupada, he served Prabhupada very nicely for a few years, and then Prabhupada in 1977 he passed away, and after that the devotees struggled to maintain his Krishna consciousness. Eventually he gave up Krishna consciousness, and he actually went back to some past bad habits. He got into intoxication, and he had a girlfriend like that, and in due course he was dying. He was dying from his diseases caused by some of his bad habits, and it was just his girlfriend was in the room when he was dying, and she was very confused what happened. So she knew that he used to be a Hare Krishna. So she went to find some Hare Krishnas to tell what happened to her partner when he died, to try to get some clarification what it all was about, what it meant, because she was very confused. So she said he was flat on his bed, you know, like in the process of dying, and he shot up straight in the bed, which ordinarily dying people don't tend to do, sit up straight in the bed, and his eyes opened real wide. And he said, "Prabhupada, you have come." And then, then he died.
Oh my God.
What does that mean to you? I'll tell you what it means to me. This was long after Prabhupada left the planet. And he said,
He was a disciple of Prabhupada?
He was a disciple of Prabhupada. But like I said, he stopped following the process of Bhakti Yoga for many years. What's that?
Do you know his name?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, that's okay then. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
That's okay. Prabhupada has got a lot of disciples, more than 10,000, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a few disciples fell away due to different reasons. I'm not recommending you try to fall away, but you should try to stay in Krishna consciousness. But even if you do,
fallen away, still liberated.
Even if you do, you still may be liberated. That's the point. So, but don't take advantage of that and be a real slacker and lazy bum. And
I might not get up. Prabhupada won't come for me.
See, but that's the thing. It's mercy, and you can't make mercy come. Can you make Prabhupada come to you? Is there anything you can do to make Prabhupada? No, that's up to him. If he wants to, he can. You know, so that's the thing. You can't. Mercy means, you know, you're getting some special favor that you don't deserve it. You know, so but there's nothing you can do to make it happen. If it happens, that's mercy. You know, but you can't force it. So, but we hope for it. We hope for the mercy. We pray for it. We expect it. I mean, because they are so kind. These great personalities in the universe, they're so kind, you can't even imagine. One time, Prabhupada, just in the middle of a talk, he was talking about Lord Chaitanya in his most merciful form as Lord Chaitanya, as Lord Gauranga. And he just started saying, Lord Chaitanya is so kind. He's so kind. And then he just stopped. He couldn't speak anymore. And he became like stunned. And then he just started crying. And he went into a trance, and that was the end of the lecture. he couldn't speak anymore. He was just overcome by thinking about just how kind is the Lord. He's just so merciful.
He didn't finish the story. What's your take on what happened? He sat up in bed and Prabhupada came and took him to.
No, well, that's what his girlfriend relayed, is that he just said, Prabhupada, you have come, and then he died. So, I mean, the fact that he said that when he died, to me indicates that, yeah, Prabhupada had come to take him back to Godhead. I mean, Prabhupada's, why would he come? You know, he's only coming to escort him back to the spiritual world.
Is that lady become a devotee?
I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore.
Devotee now.
Yeah, that's I don't know. So, but that's very relevant to us. You know, that there's a lot of mercy there. So while we are in good health and living, we should try to do the best we can. Try to do whatever we're doing in service. We should try to do the best service we can, and try to do as much as we can to please the Lord and the Lord's devotees. Follow the instructions as best we can, and that's there's nothing better to do than that. Okay, let's just we have 1 minute left, so let's just read the purport. Finish off the purport. Therefore, Gyan. So back to 5.2.
Who's reading?
People are mad after sense gratification, and they do
No,
not know.
Therefore, Jnana.
The next paragraph.
Yeah.
Is it a tree?
No, 5.2, but the paragraph after the one you were reading just now.
Oh, that's the purport, with the purport here. A fruitive. No, he's already read that. This is the purport after sense with 3 verse.
Chapter 5, text 2, and then therefore, Jnana. Someone read it. Someone read. Who's got it?
Therefore,
Jnana, for the knowledge of one is coming. You go ahead, Deepa.
Therefore, jnana, knowledge that one is not this material body, but spirit soul, is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action in the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of a conditioned soul. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work in the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive action, so that one need not descend to material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Okay, Bob, do you want to read the last paragraph?
Is that where it says when persons eager to achieve liberation renounces things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. Renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord, and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This perfect form of action is in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school.
Okay, just a couple points from those couple paragraphs. One is that, you know, just giving up the activities is not really very good, because it doesn't clean the heart. Because even though you stop the activity, but the desire is still in your heart. The desire to enjoy, is still in your heart, but you're trying to, with your knowledge, you're realizing this is not good. I'm going to suffer because of doing this. So you stopped it because you realize this is going to cause me to suffer, but the desire hasn't gone away. However, if you work in devotional service, it cleans your heart of the desire to enjoy. Do you know how? How is it that by serving Krishna, the desire to enjoy the body goes away?
Well, you're not attached to anything.
You're not attached to anything, okay?
In the material world.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But that desire to enjoy, to be the enjoyer, to be the controller, to be the center, and all the lust, the greed, the envy, all these rubbish in the heart, how does that go away? How does that get cleansed by serving Krishna? I'll give you a clue. Where's one place where Krishna lives?
In the heart.
In the heart. So
Ah.
when you serve Krishna and he becomes pleased in your heart, he's already in your heart. He clears out all the trash in your heart. Good luck for anyone else that wants to do that, because you can't get in your own heart and scrub there, can you? But you can scrub Krishna's temple and he's pleased and he's in your heart and he can clear out all the lust and the greed and the anger and so forth. He can do that. So that's one of the benefits of bhakti. You just forget about your heart. Your heart is full of garbage, but don't focus on that. You just try to please Krishna. And he is going to throw out all your trash. He's going to clear out all the trash in your heart. That's a good deal, huh? So you clear out Krishna's trash. It means keep the temple clean, keep the Krishna's kitchen clean, the bhakti tree, whatever like that. Clean out, keep your house clean, which is a temple for the Lord like that. And then, you clean externally. And Krishna will clean your heart, and chant and do all these things.
That's why Bhakti Mala cleaned the Bhakti tree. I don't know.
Yes, her heart will be very clean, or becoming very clean. It's in the process of becoming. Krishna's cleaning it out. It's not going to happen in 2 seconds, but the cleaning happens straight away from the point that we start to render service. And Krishna's becoming pleased as soon as we start the process of chanting and hearing and so forth and rendering services. And the process of cleansing is going on. So Chaito Dapanam Ajanam Vapanam. So this chanting process cleanses the heart. So this is very important, very important. And other people, if they're not directly serving the Lord, they don't get that cleansing effect. So all that's happening, they're stopping their materialistic activities because they realize the results are not good. It's entangling. But those desires are still going in the heart. And eventually what happens?
It's going to happen.
It's eventually going to burst out. What do you call that? Like, when you make a vow, I'm not going to eat sweets anymore. And then after a month, you walk past the sweet shop and then you just have a big binge. You know that what's that? How could you sum that up? What's that effect?
It's a withdrawal symptom, and then you go and
yeah, that's the process of repression. That's actually, Krishna mentions that in one verse. That what can repression accomplish in the 3rd chapter? What can repression? So this process of repression of desires. Stopping the activities, but the desires are still there, that repressing them is not a very good process, because eventually it's going to burst out, because remember, you can't stop acting forever. So this is much more recommended, this process of working in devotion. And then the other point here in the final paragraph is that what is there to renounce? What's there to give up? You can only give up something if it was You can only give up something if it was whose in the first place.
It was ours in the first
It was ours in the first place. What's ours? Tell me. Tell me what belongs to us.
Nothing.
Nothing. Who does everything belong to?
Krishna.
Everything Krishna. So what's the question of renouncing anything? I renounce all this money. I renounce this house. I renounce this family. I give up. I give up this money. I give up this family. I give up this house. But excuse me, mate. Excuse me, sir. Sorry to tell you, but it was never your money in the first place. It was never your house. It was never your family. It was all belonged to Krishna. And so what do we actually want to renounce? What do we want to give up?
The results?
Yes, but you want to give up the false idea that it was yours in the first place. That you want to give up. You want to give up that idea that anything is yours in the first place. And you want to realize that it's always belonged to the Supreme. And that's the beginning of the Ishopanishad, which we're talking about on Saturdays, is that everything is owned and controlled by the Lord. So therefore, if everything belongs to the Lord, what should you do with those things? Should you give them up? Should you stay away from them?
You have to be something for survival.
Knowing that it belongs to the Lord, what should you do with all those material things?
Use it in His service.
Use it in His service. So that's explained here in the last paragraph here. That's real renunciation. It's called Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya, real renunciation, where you use everything in the material world for the pleasure of Krishna. Don't give up material things thinking that I'm going to renounce them, I'm going to give them up, that's going to entangle me, but use things in Krishna's service. And that won't entangle you. If you use those material things for your sense gratification, you get entangled in them. But if you use them in Krishna's service, you won't get entangled. They'll actually be the cause of your liberation if you use them in Krishna's service. Prabhupada tells a story about you're walking on the road and you see some money on the road. You can do 3 things. What are the 3 things you can do?
Ignore it.
You can ignore it, walk by, ignore it. What else?
Put in the pocket.
You can put in your pocket. What else?
Or just a donation to a temple.
Well, you can pick it up and find out who it belongs to. Give it back to the owner.
If you do find out,
Yeah. So which is the best option? Put in your pocket and you enjoy it, ignore it, or find out who it belongs to. Give it back to the owner.
Find out who it belongs to.
Yeah, give it back to the owner. So that's what you do in Bhakti Yoga. That's what you do in real renunciation. As Prabhupada's talking about the Mayavadis, sannyasis, they're the ones that ignore it. Yeah.
Jayanti said dinner's ready.
Jayanti's calling out to me. Time's up, mate.
Shadam time.
Yeah. So food for thought. So those are the 2 options that most people take, either in spirituality, that they'll renounce everything, thinking that it was theirs, and I'm giving it up. But in Bhakti Yoga, the other transcendentalists, Bhakti Yoga transcendentalists, they understand nothing was mine in the first place, and there's nothing to give up. I'm just giving up the idea that it was mine, and I'm using everything in Krishna's service. So that there's two different options there with renunciation. But the second one of using everything in Krishna's service is regarded as the best renunciation, not just avoiding and becoming detached from material things. That's not regarded as the best. So you're all good. You don't have to leave home and go to the forest and eat nuts and berries. But dovetail or connect everything that you already have around you in Krishna's service. And see, it's not my house, it's Krishna's house. It's not my family, it's Krishna's family. It's not my money, it's Krishna's money. It's not my job. Krishna's given me this work. I'm working for Krishna. I'm working for Krishna now. And this body belongs to Krishna. It's not my body, it's Krishna's body. And let me use it in the best I can in Krishna's service, like that. So, and just changing the consciousness, how you see everything, and using everything in service of the Supreme. And that's recommended as the best process for liberation. So anyone like to say anything?
No, I'm going to say bye-bye from Bob and bye-bye from Dubbo.
Okay. Have a great time there. All the very
Thank you
best.
so much. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
See ya.